Hey guys, this is Jean of Hogtownprepper, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about how I got into prepping and specifically how you preppers out there may want to approach a skeptical spouse about prepping. Um, when Joe first came to me about on the subject of prepping, I had seen a couple of episodes like Doomsday Prepper, that sort of thing, and I have to admit, when he first mentioned that he wanted to establish, a preparedness plan for our family, I envisioned something sort of between the Burt Gummer of Tremors and like an episode of Extreme Hoarders. I mean, that was like the first thought that came to mind. It was, I guess, all those extreme sensationalized stories of preppers is kind of what had stuck in my mind about prepping. So I was pretty skeptical at first. But the more we talked about it, the more it really began to make sense, and I realized that what is called prepping nowadays is actually what I grew up with living with my grandparents for most of my childhood. It's just they didn't call it prepping. They called it good sense, they called it standing on your own 2 feet, saving for a rainy day. Basically it was just good common sense. My grandfather, he had a garden, they canned food, they hunted, they stored food. He knew how to fix the things around his home. It was kind of a self-sufficient-ish kind of lifestyle, but I felt comfortable growing up there knowing that if storms came, I felt secure. They knew what to do. They could protect us. It was that kind of lifestyle that I grew up with, although I didn't call it prepping. And after listening to Joe talk about preparing for the future, storms, possible zombies, I realized that it did make sense. The first thing I think, if you're skeptical, just stop a minute. Put all the thoughts of the sensationalized, what it means to be a prepper, put all that out of your mind for a minute. And just think about where you live, what you need to live, and what are the threats to you. For example, I live in Florida. Tropical storms, that's just a part of our summers here. And it was rather silly of me to not even have spare, non-perishable food in the house in case we had a storm. In the past, there was a storm coming, we'd pay half attention, and when they said, hey, you need to stock up, we'd all run down to the store and grab what was left on the shelves, and that's not preparedness, that's just crazy. So it made sense for us to store non-perishable food, to have water on hand, because whenever our power goes out for any length of time, we get a boil water notice in our little subdivision. That's right, all the water, you've got to boil it before you can drink it. It's a huge pain. So that was another one of the things that was high on our priority. We needed to be able to store water we could use safely. And we started from there, because when you first start thinking about preparing, it seems huge. It seems very overwhelming at first. But really, break it down. It doesn't have to break the bank either. I mean, we're on a budget. So we started picking up a little extra here and there when we buy groceries. And we prioritize our purchases. If we needed to buy something we felt was important for our family and our preparedness, but it was a bit costly, we would start saving for it and prioritize those items. Get the first ones that we felt were most important and then go from there. Being prepared is smart. It's something that I think my grandparents' generation understood very well, and somehow, I don't know, it seems lately my generation thought that wisdom was old-fashioned or outdated or just not needed any longer. And, I've been rethinking that. I think a lot of people have been rethinking that, especially in these uncertain times. So it feels good to be able to have some kind of control and power over what's going on by being prepared for things that come up that, you know, you just don't expect. So my advice, just consider it, make a realistic plan for your family. You have to decide what preparing means to you. What does being prepared mean for your family? And go from there. It really is a personal plan. It addresses your own personal needs. So, you know, just forget all the crazy stigmas and things you've seen and heard about preppers, and just think about coming up with a way to feel secure and safe and prepared for whatever the future may bring. So, kind of, that's my thoughts on it. I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Okay, thanks.